The Worst Podcast Ever can also be listened to on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. Links in the description below. Hey everybody, what is going on? It is episode 37 and we are back, finally. It's been a while. I know it always seems like the time in between every episode gets longer and longer, but like I always say, this isn't my job. I wish it was, and life gets in the way sometimes, but I have missed you guys so much. I am glad to be back here behind the mic doing what I love to do, and that is talking to you guys and complaining here. We have both cats down here with me today, so there is a good possibility that they will be on the show at some point today. Keeping them off the table here has been a little bit of a challenge today. So what has been going on, man? It is fall. It is fall, my favorite time of the year. And today and yesterday were the perfect kind of days for me. Low 60s, upper 50s, and rainy. I love that. There's nothing like getting up, having that nice hot cup of coffee, and having it just be shitty outside. I love it. By this time of the year, I do so much stuff out in the yard, and where I live, I have such a big yard to take care of. By the end of the summer, I'm just done. Especially here, it was hot. Once it got hot this summer, it was just hot all summer long. And even into September, we had some hot weather going into September. I'm glad that finally broke and we're actually having a fall. My favorite time of the year here in the Midwest. I know it's a little bit different, maybe down south and out west where you don't necessarily have the changing of the seasons, but definitely my favorite time of the year. So it's been a while. There's been a lot of things that have gone on. Some of them I just decided not to cover because it happened so long ago. I've had notes to do another episode for a while, and they keep changing because I'm like, this happened so long ago. Everybody already knows about this stuff. But what's been going on with me? So why have I been gone for so long? Well, there's been a lot going on. It got crazy around here for a while. The first thing that happened is I've worked at the same place for almost 21 years now. And we are a union shop. So, we're union. We have a contract negotiation that comes up about every 3 years. And, me saying this, you probably know where I'm going with this. We went on strike. Never have I ever gone on strike. And actually, this was the first time where I worked and it opened up maybe 2 years before I was born. So like 1976. That was around the last time that my union had gone on strike. And out of the clear blue, I didn't know that people were going to be so unsatisfied with the contract that we had, that we were offered, and I had to go stand out on the picket line for a little while. So there was that. We were doing that for a little while, and then that got resolved. And then things were going on, and after that settled down, my wife and I both got COVID for the second time, which, it had been a year and a half since we had it before, but still really sucked. And even after that, when I did have time to do stuff, boy, on the back end of that, we were so tired. And even now, I still feel like, my energy levels still aren't up to spec here, or up to what they normally are. So that's why, you haven't seen a lot of stuff on my channel. I've done some streaming, and I just started that, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. and I'd been always planning on doing that, but now more than ever, because that was an easy way to get out some content on my channel. So, I really made a push for that. But yeah, and then we went on vacation. So, as soon as we got out of COVID, which was like 2 weeks before we were leaving on vacation, which I'm super glad that it didn't happen right when we were supposed to go on vacation, because the last time we were supposed to go, we went to Disney World this time. The last time we were supposed to go to Disney World, the morning that we woke up, my son woke up with a fever, and that messed everything up. Obviously not his fault, but I mean, you plan for so long for Disney, and then you wake up that morning only to find out that no, you're not going. In that situation, we ended up pushing it back a couple days, ended up getting out of here and going down there. And then my wife and I got sick while we were down at Disney. So that was the time before this time. And so we were hoping to have a much better time down there this time. We were going to stay a little bit longer. My father was going with us. He's part of the vacation club down there. So we kind of made, Disney's not really my thing anymore as far as the parks go. But my dad loves Disney. Growing up as a kid, I was very fortunate because, in the 80s and 90s, we would go to Disney every other year. So my parents, we would go on vacation every other year. My parents would spend 2 years saving up, and we go and spend 2 weeks, because my dad was a teacher, and my mom at the time was a stay-at-home mom. So they would save up money for 2 years, and then we'd spend a week at Daytona Beach at this little, and unfortunately it's not there anymore, this little motel that had been there forever, right on the beach. We'd spend a week there, and then we'd go and spend a week at Disney. And it was, I just loved Disney, and I still, there is still a big part of myself that does love Disney. My wife and I, we had our honeymoon at Disney, and that was a really great honeymoon. And that was provided by, for my father, and mother, because they had just gotten into that vacation club that Disney has, and we were the first ones to actually use it. So that was very nice of them to do that. And now, having a son myself, we wanted to go back to Disney and do it all over again. Disney World, I should say. Okay, just so we know, we didn't go to Disneyland. We went to Disney World in Florida. Disney World is it's vastly different than what it was when we used to go before, and just when I got married. And now that was 17 years ago, so there's been some time that's passed. But Disney's not a vacation. And if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Disney is fantastic and absolutely, positively exhausting and super expensive. Disney is way expensive. And I know we've kind of hit on that before when we were talking about their new Star Wars Star Cruiser stay, that whole 2-day event, that was for a family of 4, like $6,000 or something like that. Now, we don't have a family of 4. It's just the 3 of us. I only have one child, but man, it's expensive. And I knew it last time when we went, because we kind of split the cost up between my dad and us this time, because he already had that vacation club, so that kind of softened the blow some. But, we paid for the whole thing last time, and boy, oh boy, does it get expensive. And it's more expensive now. There are a lot of things there that are new that we hadn't gone on that are amazing. Finally got onto that Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, which was absolutely phenomenal. We didn't go on it last time because it didn't open up officially until about 2 weeks after we were there last time. So it wasn't even ready to go yet. that thing, Rise, if you don't know what Rise of the Resistance is, you go in and you act like you're some like spies trying to get to the resistance, the new resistance against the First Order, and you get in a ship. And as you get in this ship, it gets and this is spoiler. So if you don't want to know, if you just want to go and enjoy it without knowing, then this is where you should probably skip ahead a little bit. But so you get in a ship and it gets captured by a Star Destroyer, brought in, and when you get out of this ship, you're actually in the hangar bay of a Star Destroyer, and all of a sudden you have all of these stormtroopers standing there, and you can see out through the force field the other ships and TIE fighters flying by, and then it's just this whole ride that you get into. It is absolutely phenomenal. They have another ride there where you pilot the Millennium Falcon, and it's called Smuggler's Run, and that we had been on before. Still a great ride. And Star Tours, which has been there forever, which is great. They actually made different scenarios now for that. So where before, if you remember, Star Tours only had the one show when you go in there, and it would be kind of the 3D interactive like show where you go in and sit down and you were in a ship. Now they have, instead of the one show, they have like 6 of them. They've added more, so you could go in multiple times and have a different experience. In that ride. So that was fantastic. And the other ride that was just crazy good. Well, actually, no, there was 2 other ones. So they have a brand new one, the Guardians of the Galaxy, which that thing is balls to the wall awesome. Now, we'd never been on it, and my son's still fairly young, and he doesn't necessarily dig on intense rides. He doesn't at all, and neither does my wife. So my dad and I, we were like, okay, well, we're gonna go on this ride, because you have to set up for these lightning lanes to be able to get on these rides, or otherwise you're standing in line for 100 years. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute too, because I got to get a little bit of complaining. You don't think I'm going to come back and not complain. But so we go on this ride, and we had asked the people there, but like, hey, we both wear glasses. Are we going to need to take our glasses off? And they're like, no, it's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And so this was a roller coaster in a building. It's this whole thing to where this whole storyline where you're with the Guardians of the Galaxy having to go after some things. But it's in a building. So, and then as you're going through, there's stuff going on. Well, it doesn't do like loop-de-loops or anything like that. But you know what? As soon as we got on that ride, boom, we were gone. And right away, my father and I realized, shit, we shouldn't be wearing our glasses. And so, I mean, the whole time I'm worrying that like I'm going to lose my glasses here. And the thing was just insanely fast and intense and awesome. Even though I was worried I was going to lose my glasses, it was still a really good time. And and then the other one was we went on Avatar. Now, I know it's been there for a little bit now, but it's another thing. If you've been to Epcot, there's that Soarin' where you sit down like you're in a glider, and it kind of raises you up over a 3D, I think it's 3D movie screen. Well, this is kind of the same way, but it's like you're in an avatar, like from the movie, the James Cameron movie, and you're riding one of those banshees. And this thing was crazy. It was intense, and my son did not like it at all. And my wife did not like it at all. She was not feeling all that well on the way out. Thank God that was the last ride of the day and of the trip before we came back. But, all in all, it was a really good trip. That being said, holy cannoli, it is expensive. Disney has always been known to be expensive, but this time around, like, I could not believe like how crazy it is. You used to be able to go down there in the 80s and 90s and you would just get in line. You get in line for a ride and you would just stand in line. Sometimes the lines were really long, sometimes they weren't, but whatever. Then came the fast passes where, you would get so many fast passes for the day and you were able to like weeks in advance plan out your fast passes, which I wasn't a big fan of because it really, if you didn't get the rides that you wanted early enough, you were screwed. You would have to go in the standby line, the regular line, and because there were so many people coming in with their fast passes, you were in that standby line forever. And that was our experience the last time we were there. Now this time is a little bit different. They got rid of like the technically fast passes. And now you have to sign up for something called Genie Plus. And Genie Plus costs money. So every day I would have to sign, in the morning, I would have to sign up for this. And it's $15 per ticket per day. And that's just to be able to try and get a fast pass, which they now call lightning lanes. So that doesn't even mean that I was going to get fast passes. That just means, which I did. I was always able to get fast passes, but you had to pay every day extra on each ticket for each person to be able to even have the opportunity to get these fast passes. And then for the more popular ride, like Rise of the Resistance, for Avatar and the Guardians rides, you couldn't just get a regular lightning lane. You had to get an individual one, and you had to purchase that. And that was on top of the Genie. You had to buy the Genie Plus, $15 per person, and then you had to buy a lightning lane for each person for that ride. So it'd be like another $12 per person, which is absolutely banana balls. So like I don't know. You would think that would deter people from going, but we were there and those places were packed. Every single one of the amusement parks, because they got 4, they have Epcot, Magic Kingdom, the Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. All of them were packed. So, it's obviously it's not affecting people, but boy, I mean, we had a good time. Don't get me wrong, but it was exhausting. And then I had to come back to work. I didn't have a day in between, so I had to come right back to work. And this is my first day off, and I've already taken a nap today, which naps are great. Disney, the attractions are phenomenal. Would I suggest going? I don't know. You have to really be one of those people that's okay with number one, not having a problem with paying a lot, and not having a problem spending your vacation not relaxing. Because we did have a day where we did relax and didn't go to any parks. But I mean, those 4 days that we were in the parks was a lot of moving. I mean, I was around 20,000 steps every day. And, if you have small children or whatever, I see people there with like 3 or 4 kids. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know how you do that. I mean, that's just keeping everybody together and getting to the places that you have to go would be definitely a challenge. So I don't know. I don't know that I will ever go back, but it was fun. And then we went to they have at the Halloween time. And so in October, you can buy an additional ticket. And at night you go back into the Magic Kingdom, and all the regular people that had just regular tickets, after they leave, then you come back in and they have all this Halloween stuff. And we got dressed up. My son got dressed up. I did. My wife in our Halloween costumes. and they have a parade, and they have a show for like the Samson sisters or whatever from Hocus Pocus. They have a whole big show with all the villains, and then in a parade, and it's really cool. That is really cool, and we've done it. We did it the last time we were there. It is such a cool thing walking around. Everybody's dressed up, and playing all this scary music, and then you go into the haunted mansion, and they had extra, spookiness going on over there. It was really cool. And actually, I'm going to put right up here. I'm going to put a picture of what first of all, of what I look like dressed up, and then what the haunted mansion looked like, because they added a little bit of extra fog and lights, and it looked really, really cool. So, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. And then I started streaming, something that I'd wanted to do for a while, and I'd kind of messed around with trying to get it going on myself before, and nothing really came together. And finally, when I started really getting serious about it, I had to call, actually get a hold of Captain Algebra and have him kind of walk me through it a little bit on the stuff that I needed. And once I talked to him, it was fairly easy to get to where I needed to go. I mean, the last stream I did, the sound was off. It was way too high. I didn't even notice until after the stream when I went back to watch a little bit, and I was like, oh shit. I'm like, no one said anything. So if you guys are ever in my streams, they're going to be every other Friday. So it won't be this Friday. It'll be the Friday after. And it's going to be, they're called Friday Night Hangout. So if you're ever in there watching any of my streams and the sound's not quite right or whatever, just let me know, because I'm still just kind of getting a feeling for the stream. I just want to make sure that, you guys are having, the best possible quality that I can give. Not that I give out quality product here, but, I try to keep it from totally sucking and maybe just mildly sucking. So anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much what's been going on. A lot of stuff, but we're back here, and hopefully we're gonna keep a more regular schedule, guys. Just a short thing here that I wanted to cover a little bit. That's more of a I'm really excited about it. Is that a game that I've always looked at getting into, but never have, because it looks like one of those games where any of my free time that I have that I use to do this is just going to be sucked up by this game, and that is called No Man's Sky. And it's been out for a while, but now it's out on the Switch, and I'm so excited about that, because I love the Switch. I could have gotten No Man's Sky on my Xbox One, and I've toyed with it here and there, but now that it's on the Switch, I'm really, really, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. I was gonna say I'm really thinking about getting it, but let's not kid ourselves. I'm gonna get it. And yeah, it's about time. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, I know it's a small company or whatever. I haven't read any of it, like reviews or anybody's thoughts on how it runs on the Switch. Because, sometimes, when those things were made originally for these other consoles that are more powerful, sometimes it doesn't translate that well to the Switch, because the Switch is not all that powerful. But that was just a side thing. I guess there's really nothing else I wanted to say about that. It's just the fact that I really, really enjoy the fact that they brought it to the Switch finally. And now I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I'm still heavy into Minecraft, and I'm gonna have this, and if this is really good, then I don't know when I'm gonna find the time. What am I gonna do? First world problems, people. So we talked about this a while back, that there's gonna be a Super Mario Brothers movie coming out. And no, it's not going to be a live action like the one in the 90s. And thank God, because, maybe that really is the way to go. Sonic worked as live action, but, Sonic and Mario are kind of apples and oranges there. Or maybe more even apples to pineapple here. I don't know. You know what I'm saying. Anyhow, but it's going to be animated. And one of the things that, they do in a lot of these animated features now, all these studios, is they get, they just don't get voice actors. I mean, they do, but a lot of times they get, well-known people, well-known actors, movie stars to voice. And the whole thing with this movie is that Mario was going to be voiced by Chris Pratt, Star-Lord. And, I know that a lot... Is it Chris Pratt? It's Chris Pratt, right? Did I get that right? Chris Pratt. Right. Okay, because I was like, wasn't Chris Evans? But that was Buzz Lightyear. So, sorry, got a little confused there. Well, by the way, Buzz Lightyear was very good, I thought. Anyway, so Chris Pratt, was voicing this, and people were like, I don't know about this, and this and that, and people are going back and forth. But like, well, you can't have the, it's a me, a Mario. I mean, for like an hour 45. I mean, you're going to shoot yourself in the head. And so finally, the first trailer dropped, I want to say, last week? And, you get about 2 lines out of Mario. And it's Chris Pratt. And people are just like, it just sounds like some dude. He just sounds like some dude. And first of all, I was like, well, you barely heard anything. You barely heard anything. And the second thing is like, well, what is he supposed to sound like? People are like, well, he doesn't have an accent. Okay. But, if you decided to go that route, that could really just make it bad. It's like, let's hold up here. Let's wait and see, when they put out the other trailer and see. You don't know. And look, I'm the first one that likes to jump on things if I don't think they're going to be good. I will jump on it and I will be like, what the hell is this? But at the same time, too, I always try to be careful and not do that and wait and see. And, there's one thing that people kind of miss here with this movie. And this is why I'm really excited for this movie. I think it's going to be, from the trailer, it looks like it's going to be a very cute, a decent movie. But what people don't understand here is, and if you watch the trailer, this is what I took away from it. This is going to be a kids movie. It's a kids movie. Okay? I mean, once you watch the trailer, it's very cute with Bowser and the interaction he has with some of the other characters in there. It's very cute. And right then and there, I was like, oh, it's a kids movie. This is something that I'm going to take my son to go see. It's a kids movie. It's not live action. It's not like Sonic. Sonic was a kids movie. But, Sonic kind of was a little bit, more for an older crowd. But this is going to be a kids movie. And therein itself is like, okay, well, then the voice shouldn't be that big of a deal. Let's not judge this as it's going to be like a full-fledged, serious... What is going on here? We got an ad behind me here. I run a screensaver on my other TV back here, and it's through YouTube. And evidently, it just ran a ad, so that's nice. Anywho, I don't know what it was for. I think it was like H&M. Aren't they like a department store for women? I think. I don't know. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so. I mean, they didn't really show us too much. It looks great. To me, it looks great. And it's going to be a kids movie. So I'm just going to send this out to the ether. This is coming from a guy who loves to complain. I'm going to tell you, guys, don't complain. Just hold up. Everybody take a deep breath and realize two things. We barely seen anything. We barely heard anything from Chris Pratt. Okay, we don't know. It was barely we barely were seen enough to get a feeling. Okay, we just barely enough to get a feeling. And two, this is going to be a kids movie. It's going to be a kids movie. So if you're older, if you're like maybe my age, it may not necessarily be for us. Now, because we're fans of the retro gaming community and all that, we're definitely interested in it, and we really hope that it's going to be good. But, I would ask that you don't judge it on the fact that, hey, like it was going to be like a live action serious movie. This is going to be a kids movie. I think it's going to be a little bit lighter of a fare as far as the content goes. And I'm totally cool with that. There's nothing wrong with that because, they could have gone for something that's more serious, something that's more live action, and we know how that can turn out. Not very well. And I think with Mario, this is the way to go. And, you could say, well, it worked for Sonic. Why can't it work for Mario? Well, there's reasons. It's a different dynamic between, like I said, apples and pineapples, So, there's that. There's not really too much to say about it other than the fact that, hey, this came out. It looks cute. I'm looking forward to going seeing it. I know my son's looking forward to going seeing it. I think it's going to be a good time to take your kids to and go and see it. I'm looking forward to seeing the next trailer that they drop for it. So, yeah. So we'll just have to keep an eye on things and see how it goes. So, hey, I follow Kotaku, the gaming magazine or, editorials on my Facebook feed. And, every once in a while, and I know they talk about a lot of stuff that I myself aren't interested in the gaming world and don't have any knowledge of, and that's fine, whatever. There's a lot of stuff out there and not everything's for me, God knows. But one of the things that, we've talked about here and that they covered is this article on Valve's Steam Deck. And if you don't remember what the Steam Deck is, quickly, it's a handheld that looks reminiscent of the Switch, bigger than the Switch, but it's more of a PC-based handheld that's more powerful, that's supposed to be able to play PC games through Steam. Well, obviously, basically what you're holding there is a handheld computer. And naturally, the progressions are, your people are going to take that and play other things on there more than what was originally intended. And, which is fine. I don't think that the people that developed the Steam Deck were against that. I think, their main thing was to play, more modern PC games through Steam on the Steam Deck. But, people are going to do what they're going to do. The minute something like this comes out, people are working on it, on hacking it and being able to load emulators and this and that. And that's exactly what happened here. And I guess what the article reads, it says the Valve shows Switch emulator and Steam Deck video. And that's like I said, that's off of Kotaku there. Well, first of all, I didn't even know that there was a Switch emulator. The Yuzu, YUZU Switch emulator. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Probably not. But just hearing that is great because I love the Switch. To know that there's a Switch emulator out there, that's fantastic. I didn't know that. That's great. I do a little bit of emulation myself on older stuff, but it's still, I'm still a big fan of emulation. I think it's a very good thing for the community. It's funny because, it's just funny because it's Nintendo and it's a current console, and you know how Nintendo gets. Nintendo doesn't necessarily like people messing with their properties. And the one thing that I do know is when you have a situation like this, where you can, it's like, I'm always of the mind, the gamers out there and the people that do emulation, if they can, they will. And if they can emulate this on the Steam Deck, they're going to. And as it turns out, they are. And what the article is about basically is they made an official, Valve, the people that make Steam Deck, made an official video on their website. And one of the snapshots of the front of the screenshot of the whichever person that works at Valve, their Steam Deck had the emulator, had a picture of the emulator for Nintendo. Now, and of course, it was only on there for a brief second, but of course, the internet caught that and ran with it, and of course, Valve took that video down and replaced the slide of the emulator or whatever, the picture of the emulator on the Steam Deck with something else. But it was already out there. As soon as people see that, it's too late. And as of reading this article, we haven't heard anything from Nintendo, and it's going to be weird to see how they handle this. I kind of feel that they're not going to do anything because it was just a very nonchalant, I wouldn't say them pushing. It wasn't like Valve was pushing the emulator or wasn't, endorsing it. But, at the same time too, Nintendo doesn't necessarily sit idly by on stuff like this. And I get it. It's, you don't want your stuff pirated. You don't want, basically another handheld that in a way is your competition being able to play your games. That would be like, this Switch being able to play Xbox games or whatever. I know that's, another apples to oranges thing there, but, so, and Nintendo's always big, especially on emulation, on ROMs getting out there. We've seen in the past, we've covered it in the past, how Nintendo just, will steamroll over people, and they will come at them with a billion lawyers. And, Nintendo wins because they are a giant corporation. So it's going to be interesting to see, where this goes. The one thing that I was thinking though, is with the Steam Deck being able to play these Switch games, and now from what I've heard, this emulator is able to play them at the games at a higher resolution, higher frame rate. So basically, it's playing the games better than the Switch at a higher quality. And my thing is, could this also be a little bit of the symptom of the fact that Nintendo hasn't come out with a beefier Switch? They never did. We thought they were going to come out with a more powerful Switch, and then he came out with, what was it, the Switch Lite or whatever that was just the handheld version. And then we thought they were going to come out with a beefier one again, a more powerful one again. And then we got the OLED, Switch, which wasn't really that more powerful. It was just a better screen for the people that played in handheld. It was a little bit bigger of a system. So, is this a little bit, I do find it a little bit funny that, people are playing these games on another system that's more powerful, and that system's possibly playing the games a little bit better than what the Switch is playing. It's like, well, guys, maybe you should have just, instead of coming out with that Lite, which made no sense to me, it's still, every time I see that, I'm like, that's so dumb. Because it's like, it's already a handheld. Why would you take away the fact to be able to plug it in and play it on your TV? I don't understand why take that away. I don't understand why they had to do that. They came out with the Switch and got rid of any of the, the DS or the 3DS. They said, no, we're not going to have that. We have this. We have the Switch. Why would we need to do that? And then they turned around and they came out with a dedicated handheld, which you just got done for the last 3-4 years telling us, well, we don't need a dedicated handheld, and then you came out with a dedicated handheld of the same system that you already have, which, I don't know, whatever. I mean, in the big scheme of things, I guess it doesn't really matter, but, look, this is out there, this is going to happen. So my guess is, I don't think Nintendo's really going to bring the hammer down, because I don't think Steam or I don't think Valve is making any money off of that. It was just a mistake. Somebody had it on the screen capture by mistake. They're not promoting it anyway. Because what are you going to do? It's already out there. Look, man, they came down hard on all these websites that have the ROMs. The ROMs are already out there. This is the name of the game. Is it illegal? Is it wrong to do? Yeah, probably. That's why, I'm a little bit not as with the Switch emulation right now, because it's a current system, as I am for like the older stuff, like, the regular NES and the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, all that stuff, because it's like, look, I don't have a problem with people downloading the ROMs and emulating them, because, especially with Nintendo, because the one problem that I have with Nintendo is their ability to limit your access to certain hardware, to certain games. They do this all the time to the customers here, and then they turn around and say, you're not paying us to use these ROMs. Well, it's like, okay, well, listen, pal, you're also the same dumbasses that didn't make that many, mini NESs or NES classics, and everybody was trying to get their hands on them, and then you were just like, no, that's all we're gonna do. And it's like, why did you do that? And this is just me bitching about something I've already bitched about on this channel. But, so if, basically what I'm saying is, if Nintendo has a problem with this, go pack sand. Because really, I love your system, but, let's not kid ourselves. You guys can be jackasses when it comes to, dealing with what's best for your fans and for you, because the people are willing to pay for it. Everyone's willing to pay for this stuff, but, like, if people have been clamoring for a more powerful Switch, why didn't you come out with it? Now people that got the Steam Deck are putting it on the Steam Deck. Don't feel so sorry for you guys. So, anywho, that's just me bitching. Hey, we're I came back the same man I left. I started this channel with I think it was like a top 20 list or whatever of the best video games. I'm such a sucker, because lists are so, top whatever lists are so, subjective, they don't mean anything, but it's fun to look at them and talk about them, what my opinion is and what they have here. And this is something from a while ago. Like when I was planning my new episode before, my life just got turned upside down for a little bit. And I still wanted to come back to it because it's very interesting. And it's not video games, it's movies here. IGN had something where it was Christopher Nolan's movies, his top, they have here 11 movies. I don't know how many movies that he has, and it was really interesting. Now, there's I think 3 of them on the list that I have not seen, so I can't really talk about them much, but the rest of them I have seen. And, the one thing with Christopher Nolan is he is definitely one of the best movie directors, one of the best, I don't know if you would call it artists, but, just makers of movies. He's one of the top guys out there. Not everything he makes, all the time is great, but he's made some huge, great, awesome movies and some franchises that are just fantastic. So I figured, let's go through this list. It's the top 11. And according to them, how did they put it though? They put it a different way. I don't remember. But it was just like let's talk about these 11 movies that Christopher Nolan made and put them 1 through 11. Obviously we're going to talk with 11 because you got to keep the suspense. What's going to be number 1? But so let's go through this list. I love I love doing these lists here. So number 11 is the following. I don't know that I've seen this movie. I really don't. At first I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen it. I'm like, no. That's The Happening with Marky Mark, and that's not Nolan. That's M. Night. So unfortunately, can't talk about that one. But it's at number 11, so maybe it's not all that great. At number 10, they have The Dark Knight Rises. And now this was, in the trilogy of the Batman reboot, it was Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. I loved the first two. I didn't really care for the third one. I didn't like where it goes. And look, let me just say, all these movies have been out for a while. So I guess spoiler alert here, but really, if you haven't seen these movies yet and you're mad at me for ruining, like being spoilerly, forget you, man. I mean, you've had plenty of opportunity, but just because I'm a nice guy, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk in depth about probably all these movies. So The Dark Knight Rises, the third one, that was with Bane. I don't know. I was always excited to where the Batman franchise under Nolan was going and where it was going to end up. I was really looking forward to Wayne Manor getting rebuilt and seeing the Batcave once he got the Batcave done, and we didn't get that. The third one was him just broken down as far as his body goes because of everything that he'd gone through being Batman. The Batcave was basically a big concrete slab that came up out of the water in the Batcave. And I'm not going to say that wasn't cool, but it wasn't really cool. It wasn't like Batman Cave cool. Not like the one I really enjoyed seeing was like the one that Ben Affleck had in his Batman, portrayal. And I thought he had a really nice Batcave. That thing was badass. I mean, of course, Michael Keaton's Batcave was the most badass of all, but the whole thing to where he died or faked his death, and then I don't know. I didn't hate it. It just, I don't know. It felt more like an action movie than like a Batman movie to me. It didn't really feel like a Batman movie. And I'm not saying that I hated it, but I'm not really sure that I liked it either. But let me just say this. That being said, it's not a bad movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying, as far as my tastes go, I didn't really care for it. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good movie. I believe it was a good movie. It just wasn't my taste. So, yeah. So that's number 10. Moving on. So number 9 is Tenet. Where to begin on Tenet? I watched Tenet about a year and a half after it had come out, and everyone was in bed one night. It was on HBO Max. I said, I'm gonna watch this. I think I made it halfway through. This is another one of those movies where I can't say that it was a bad movie. I can't say that it was a good movie. I don't know what this movie was. This is where I don't know that you have to worry about me spoiling anything, because I'm not really sure that I understood this movie, where there were things in the world, items in the world that were going backwards in time that were really dangerous to people. So like if you got in the way and it would just come through you or something like that, but then there was ways for you to get to a certain point and then you be going backwards in time at the same time things are going forwards in time. I thought I was going to sit down. I got myself a bowl of popcorn and to watch this thing. And dude, I'm not that smart of a person. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I admit it. I'm just smart enough to know how dumb I really am. That being said, this took a lot of paying attention. Like, if you were at the movies and you had to get up and take a piss during this movie, when you came back, you'd be fucked. Because there's no explaining what just happened. Because it's like, I don't have time to explain because now I'm missing what going forward, where we're at here with things. I will say it was I still to this day, every time I think of it, it's a neat idea. I don't know that necessarily this neat idea translated into a good movie. I don't know. I don't know. Like with the Dark Knight, I knew it just wasn't my thing, and the Dark Knight Rises, it just wasn't my thing. I think it was a good movie. This, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a bad movie or a good movie. I didn't care for it, although I do kind of have the feeling of maybe going into it and trying it again, but I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think I understood what was going on for the most part. I'm pretty sure, but I was just, it was so much of an effort to keep everything straight. I was just like, I just want to sit down and unplug my mind and watch a movie and eat my popcorn, and this is not that movie. So, yeah, so they had that at number 9. Number 8 is Insomnia, and I know I haven't seen this movie. I'm not sure which movie this is. Is this the one with... Was this the one with Robin Williams? Where he was that serial killer or something? I don't know. If it is, I definitely have to check that out. But no, that's number 8. Like I said, I haven't seen that movie. Number 7, Interstellar. The general gist of this movie I love. I love the feel that they do of this movie as far as, you know, the us at the end of our line here and really at the very edge of what's possible for us to do and to go places as far as in space and what we can do if we pull everything together for us to be able to save ourselves. And just to me, the feeling that we got out of this, of the sheer hopelessness in size and scope of the universe that we live in, and just the cold, dark reality of how barren it can be and how just brutal it could be if you go out there. Now that being, and that's the feeling I got from it, and it's in a very provocative in a certain kind of cold and lonely way, if that makes any sense. But there are things about the movie that I do have a problem with, and I think where it loses me, like it loses a lot of people, is at the end with what they were trying to say. And I kind of have an idea of what it was trying to say, even when I read what other people explain the end. I get it, but at the same time too, it kind of falls apart for me with all that, even if that's what they were going for. And you know, where we were the ones that made the wormhole for us to help ourselves to go find this other planet. At the same time too, I was always like, I don't understand why if we could do that, why did we send ourselves to a system that has a black hole in it? That's just like the worst thing for us ever. It's like one of the most deadly and powerful things in the universe, and that's where we sent ourselves to. So that I did have a problem with, but it is a very good movie, regardless. And it is. I really, now that I have kids, when he gets back after that first mission, Matthew McConaughey, and he gets that video, and because of the time distortion that you get, where time slows down, time speeds up, something like that. It slows down when you're by a black hole, but it's going the same speed for everybody else. And he comes back and his kids are all grown up when they were still just kids the last time he talked to him or seen a message. God, it's just, and then he finally meets his daughter there at the end. He's still the same age and she's like 96. It really does evoke a lot of emotions inside, which is great because, and that's why I think I really enjoy this movie, even though I do have a problem with the ending and some of the other things that they have in there. It just shows that maybe I don't have as big of a problem with those things, and that they did everything else in that movie so well, it doesn't matter to me. So yeah, Interstellar, number 7. Yeah, I think that's right where it should be. Number 6, and I would have this higher, is Batman Begins. Batman Begins is the first installment of the Nolan Batman universe. It was the reboot, after, what was the Batman before this? The Batman and Robin, George Clooney and was it McConaughey, or not McConaughey? God, what was his name? It was Alicia Silverstone, and then Robin was, I can't think of his name. You guys, if you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And then Mr. Freeze, Dr. Freeze was, Arnold is like, why don't you just chill out? And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst movie. It's the only movie I ever walked out of. Just gone. And so it had been a handful of years since we had a Batman movie. Excuse me, guys. And then you had Nolan came through and took it back to that kind of maybe not as dark and zany as the Tim Burton one, but it was still dark. It still had that feeling. It was more based in reality of like what would happen if someone really did go this route. And it was really good. Christian Bale did an excellent job with it. You had Liam Neeson playing Ra's al Ghul, and he did a great job. What doesn't Liam Neeson do a good job at? And it was just a great way to restart that Batman franchise going forward. And that was going to lead into an even better movie in the sequel that we're going to get to later on this list. So yeah, Batman Begins. What else is there else to say? It's a great movie. Oh, and Morgan Freeman's in it. Jesus Christ. it's a great movie. I love Batman Begins. Number 5 is Memento. I want to say, I know I haven't seen it. I don't know if is this the, I want to say this is the Mayan one, or is that Apocalypto? Either which way, I know I haven't seen this movie, so unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to really be able to talk about this, but that wasn't at number 5. Number 4, Dunkirk. Now, Dunkirk, I haven't seen all the way through, and I didn't care for Dunkirk. Not because it wasn't a good movie. It's a good movie. It was very, very well done. Dunkirk's one of those things that I fall into a lot of times with movies when it's historical events. I'm a big documentary guy, and when I watch stuff and I know a lot about it, a lot of times the movies like this, it's kind of an over dramatization. Did I get that out right? Not going to try again. Of the events, and while it was a good movie, in situations like this, like historical stuff like this, I'm more of a fan of just watching a documentary about this, and especially with World War II stuff, with both of my grandparents, my grandfathers being in World War II, I've always been a really big buff of reading about it and watching documentaries about World War II. And I do know about Dunkirk, because basically what it was is when at the beginning of World War II, when the Nazi Germany, Hitler invaded France, you had something called the Expeditionary Force at the very beginning, and it was England sent its troops over, France had its troops, and they went and attacked the Germans. Well, it didn't go so well. The Germans were much better prepared and just in a better place as far as their military goes, because after World War I, A lot of the countries had wound down their military just because, they didn't have the money. They went through a Great Depression, and Germany, as part of its revitalization, was it wound up its military and unfortunately pushed the France and England forces, the Expeditionary Force, to the edge of the coast, and between England and France, there, right on the English Channel. And it was a big evacuation that happened. All these boats that came from England to pick up these troops that were trapped on the beach by the German forces and got them out of there, and pretty much probably saved all of Europe in the process, and gave them enough breathing room and breathing time for us to join the war and in time invade Europe again and take it back from the Nazis. And I mean I'm going a little bit far into it, but it's very fascinating. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that lived in that generation, because those people were my grandparents and were my great aunts and uncles. I had a great uncle that I never got to meet because of the things that he's seen and had to go through over there. Drank a little bit too much when he got home. He was a Marine on the beaches over in the Pacific, and it's, when they call it the greatest generation ever, that could probably be true. And when I watch Dunkirk, while it is a good movie, but it's just like with this stuff, I'm more of a documentary guy. So, but where they have it here, number 4, as far as yeah, probably. I didn't watch the whole movie, but yeah, I would say so. Okay, number 3, Inception. I love this movie. And unfortunately, this is one of those movies where I don't think it's never going to be as good as the first time. And you could say that about almost everything. But this is one of those things where it was such an original idea that, and kind of the same way with Tenet. But this one was a little bit more, you were able to wrap your mind around it a little bit better. But it was, again, one of those movies that you had to pay attention. You get up to go to the bathroom, you come back, and you could be lost. It is a very good idea. Leonardo DiCaprio was absolutely phenomenal in it. Dreams within dreams, and a waking dream to where you guys, where they can affect the other people around there. And the time that you're in there, it moves a lot faster than what the time outside of the dream in the real world. But you can go into you can dream, go into that dream, and then go into a dream in that dream. It's just, I know it sounds so weird when you try to explain it, but it's such a great movie. And at the end, not knowing if he really is dreaming or not. I don't think he was. I don't think he was dreaming at the end there. And if you've watched the movie, you know what I'm getting at. I think he was awake, but it's a great movie. And that's another one of those movies, like if I'm flipping around the channels and it's on, no matter where it's at in the movie, I'm watching the rest of it. I love it. It's really good, really good. Number 2, and this is a fantastic movie, and that's The Prestige. And that's another Christian Bale, I'm trying to think, Hugh Jackman movie, where they are, I think Michael Caine's in it too. It's been a while since I've seen it. And they are magicians. Back in the day, I think it's the early 1900s, and them performing, and there's a dynamic between both of them, Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, and then they have a falling out. But then there's also, kind of a supernatural thing going on here. And they have a great portrayal of Tesla. I don't know what Tesla's first name is, but pretty much Thomas Edison's, main competitor. And he's played by David Bowie. And he does such a great job in that part. And it's just, anytime David Bowie was in a movie, you could do no wrong. And the whole thing was Tesla had made this contraption for, well, you wind it back. What had happened was there was, I think it was Christian Bale's, was it his wife? His wife was one of the people, one of the women that, one of the assistants on there, and she ended up dying in a trick that Hugh Jackman had done, even though they told him not to do it that way. And I think she drowned or something, and so that's where the falling out was. And then Tesla, they went their own way, and then Tesla made this machine for Hugh Jackman, which pretty much duplicated him or anything that was in it. And here he had this whole disappearing act, and then he'd appear somewhere else, and it, in fact, was him being duplicated. But every time he would duplicate himself, there'd be a trap door there, and it would fall into this box, this water, and drown himself. But it was his duplicate. It's so weird, and you don't realize it until the end. And I'm kind of wishing I hadn't told you guys this, because if you haven't seen this movie, it's a very, very good movie. It's a little bit on the long side, if I remember correctly. But at the time this movie came out, there was a second movie that had come out around the same time too, one with Edward Norton being a magician, and that's called The Illusionist. Now, that is, I don't think that as far as like, making a movie was as good, but I like it better. There's just, because there's a little bit more of a love story in that, and it kind of makes you more involved in the way they do it. And I think, who else is in it? That Paul Giamatti and the main bad guy. Oh, we got Mrs. Justin Timberlake in it, Jessica Biel. Chef's kiss to that lady. But anyway, these two movies came out relatively close in time, and they're both great movies, both about magicians and magic, and just, if you get a chance, see either one. They're really good. Okay, so now we come to number one, and this is right on, and yeah, you all guessed it, it's The Dark Knight, the second installment of Batman in the Nolan universe. This is the one that Heath Ledger played the Joker, and unfortunately and tragically, he took his own life before the movie came out, which made it even more tragic when he played the Joker so well. And look, I'm a fan of Jack. Jack was one of the best Jokers ever, but I'm sorry, Heath Ledger is by far the best Joker in my opinion. I mean, to each their own, but the way he played him was just so fantastic, and just so deep. The reasons why he would do something, or his very nature of why he is the way he is, was just fantastic. And that's just the villain. And then you had Christian Bale playing a really, really great Batman, and the whole thing just came together. And I remember how epic this thing was when it came out. I mean, everybody was talking about it. I remember I bought a bootleg of it before it actually came out on DVD, because I just couldn't wait. I'd already seen it like 3 times at the movies, and I'm like, I bought this bootleg, and it was like a review copy that they give, movie critics. And it was the only time I've ever done that for any movie, and it was just one of the best movies as far as a Batman. I still say this might be the best Batman movie ever made. That one that just came out, the Batman with, who's that? Twilight Boy. Twilight Boy. I can't think of his name. Yeah, you guys know who I'm talking about. The guy from Twilight. That was That was good. And I liked it. It was good. But it wasn't great, at least for me. I thought that, by far, when I walked out of there, Because a lot of people were talking like, oh, the Batman's just, this is great. This is one of the best Batmans ever. And when I walked out of there, I said, that was good. But it's not the Dark Knight. And I think the Dark Knight going forward is going to be, no matter what other Batman movie there is going to be the one that everybody judges Batman movies going forward. And unfortunately, we've never gotten a Batman movie from Ben Affleck. And for what it's worth, I think that Ben Affleck is the best Batman. And I know people out there, their minds are just, what? Yeah, I think he was the best Batman. And when I heard that they were going to make Ben Affleck Batman, I was like, you guys are crazy. And then I saw the movie, and I'm like, dude, he's great. I want to see that movie. I want to see him brutal with just bringing down some brutal justice in Gotham. And unfortunately, little Ben likes to drinky a little bit too much and too often, and we didn't get that movie. But it is what it is. The Dark Knight is probably the best movie as far as any Batman out there, and that's my opinion. But yeah, that's 1 through 11. So what do you think? Do you think that's pretty fair where all those movies are? I mean, there's like 2 or 3 of them that I wasn't familiar with, but Nolan knows what he's doing. Okay, if he makes a bad movie, his worst movie is probably a good movie. I don't think he makes anything that's like a real bomb. So, which is good. So usually if I see his name on something, I'm like probably going to see that movie. So, well, I know we're running a little long here, but I just wanted to talk about Andor. Star Wars Andor, that has come out on Disney Plus. And now, today, the 5th episode has come out. And I think we got 12 episodes. So we still got, about 7 more episodes to go, which is great. I love that. I said my piece about Kenobi. I got a lot of people talking about how they weren't, they disagreed with my take on Kenobi, which is fine. To each their own. I get it. And a lot of those people were asking me, hey, man, what did you think of Andor? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be straight up. And I'm a Star Wars fan. And and it is what it is. I'm a big fan of the old school stuff. I'll be honest with you. I fucking love Andor. I absolutely love this show so far. The first 5 episodes. God, they're doing it so good. And it's a prequel. Who knew? I'm not all that big of a fan of prequels because a lot of times where this is going to end. I mean, we know where Cassian Andor is going to end up. He dies on the beach there with Jyn Erso from in Rogue One. And in that alone, the fact that they did that in Rogue One makes watching him become the freedom fighter in the resistance, watching him become that even more powerful, that they didn't let him live in that. And long before Andor was even knew about this, when I had watched Rogue One, a lot of people I know had problems with them killing those characters. I love the fact at the end, it brought so much power to the end of that. And then this showing the sacrifice that these guys and these women went through to give up their lives just so others may live, and to know that the fight was bigger than them. And that's what this show is. It's a spy thriller. It's a heist. It's unclear, where people's allegiances are, because in the original trilogy, it was very white and black, good against evil, and there was no gray. It was just, the rebels were the good guys, They were the guys in white, and the Empires were the guys in black. And here you got into Rogue One, and it's just, people fighting a resistance. When you fight a resistance, you're not fighting a clean war. You're doing whatever you can to bring the other side down. And you've seen that in Rogue One. You're seeing that in Andor. And I just love that. Why people are here, why people are doing it. What are your motives? Why should I be doing this? And seeing the beginnings of what later on becomes the rebellion. I fucking love this show. I'm so happy they're making this show. And I love the fact that it's going to be 12 episodes instead of like the 6 or 8 episode bullshit. And I love the fact that these episodes are so long, because right now we're watching She-Hulk, and She-Hulk is so short. It's like, hey, I'm She-Hulk, roll credits. It's like, what? I love Andor. I love the fact that the episodes are longer episodes. So, being the fact that it is still going on, I don't want to get into it too much, because maybe a lot of people that are going to listen to this, a lot of people listen to this, but on the off fact that the few people that do listen to it that aren't caught up on what's going on in there, I'm not going to give any specifics here. I just wanted to say how much I love this show. I know a lot of people think that I'm here just to dump on new Star Wars stuff. I'm not. I'm just here to be real. I don't give good credit to stuff that's just okay. If you make something that's good, I'm going to say, this is really good. If you make something that's just okay, I'm going to say, it's just okay. I get it. It's Star Wars. I love Star Wars. But that doesn't give new shows, new movies a pass just because I'm a fan. I don't know. I mean, to each their own. If there are people out there that like the other stuff, that's cool too. That's good. I mean, I'm glad for you. I mean, I wish that was me, but that's not me. Andor, if you're not on that train yet, there's 5 episodes in already. Get on that train. And if you're one of those people that's just like, I'm going to wait until it's all the way through, and then I'm going to go through the whole thing, I understand that. I see where you're coming from. But damn, man, that's a while away. I mean, are you going to be able to hold out? It's really good, guys. It's so good. Well, all right. That's about where we're gonna leave it here. God, I was really worried I wasn't gonna have anything to talk about. I mean, I haven't been doing this for like over a month here. Like there was nothing that happened in between now and then to talk about. But it was good. It's good being back on here. God, I've just been like, I gotta get down there. I gotta put out an episode. I got stuff to talk about. I got stuff to complain about. And as you can imagine, my wife is tired of hearing it from me, so she's like, go talk to somebody else. I'm like, but everybody else I know doesn't want to hear it either, so so I'll just go and record it and put it out on the internet so y'all can enjoy yourselves. So all right, guys, well, that just about does it for this time. I'm so glad that you were here hanging out, talking about all the stuff that we like to nerd out about. God knows that's what gets me through my days. But I love you guys all. I love you guys. I love all of you guys. Boy, oh boy. It's time to go get another cup of coffee. I love all of you guys. I hope you have a great day. And until next time, good night and goodbye.
For my bunghole. Bunghole.
Sir? Sir, are you okay?
Are you threatening me? I am Cornholio.